Hey everyone, for today's video I'm doing a full face of Nabla Cosmetics makeup. I'm gonna be using all makeup from Nabla. This is just a brand that I really love and I wanted to showcase them a little bit more on my channel because I've talked about them a lot but not really shown application of these products just yet. So I'm really excited about this video and let's get right into it. If you haven't been on my channel before, my name is Marley and I love making beauty videos here on YouTube. I love doing looks, reviews, swatches, all that kind of stuff, and I love to showcase different brands on my channel. And I'm also getting more and more into indie makeup, so if that sounds good to you, then don't forget to subscribe. So let's get into the full face of Nabla. Last year I really got into this brand. Before I only had a few like single eyeshadows, but I hadn't really tried much of their formula. But last year I was like, I really want to see what this brand is actually about. I was really interested in most of their releases actually. Like most of the eyeshadow palettes and the cheek products looked really interesting to me and I just really wanted to try them and really see what all the hype was about. So I bought quite a lot of stuff. I bought quite a lot of stuff in sales because on the Nabla website there are a lot of great sales actually. They have a lot of 1+1 free or 40% off or 50% off. So I have quite a lot of products by them right now and that's why I wanted to do like a full face. I do have to say I only have like colored makeup products. I don't have any of their powders, foundations, brow products, whatever. I just have things that have color, but that's also just what I am like with makeup. I don't really wear any foundation. I'm not really into like concealer and things like that. I just love the colorful aspect of it, so that's what we're gonna do today. So I have a bunch of palettes over here. I have the Dreamy 2. I really love this color story. Might do something with this today. I also have the Nabla Wild Berry. Of course it's by Nabla because this is a full face of Nabla. But this is the Wild Berry palette. It has really beautiful berry tones. A little bit more colorful. I also have some of their single eyeshadows. But I'm not really planning to do anything with this today because I already did a video about their single eyeshadows and I already did a look there. So I don't know if I'm going to do anything with that. I also have some of their special shades, their celestial shades in the singles. Then my newest Nabla eyeshadow palette is the Side by Side Nude eyeshadow palette. I did a first impression of this one and I also did a review with multiple looks. I really love this palette. This was also in my yearly favorites. Then I also have the Dreamy 1 by Nabla. This one is a little bit more soft than the Dreamy 2. I really love these colors. I think these are such pretty springy shades. I love these mattes over here. Might do something with that today. So let's just start with the eyeshadow and I'm just gonna zoom you in a little bit. So I already put on some eye primer. I put some powder, some translucent powder right here because I have really oily eyelids. I keep saying that, but if you're new here, then you might want to know that that's a trick I use for oily eyelids. I think for today I want to start with the Dreamy palette and I want to go into these two shades to start the crease. This one is called Lullaby. I'm going to start with this one. I also have some brushes by Nabla. I'm going to try to use as many brushes by them as I can. I bought a brush set recently. So this one is called N306. It doesn't really have a name on it. And I'm just going to start building the crease with that Lullaby shade. This brush is a little bit big for what I normally use. I normally use a little bit of a smaller brush. But I think it's working quite well with this formula and the shade. I wouldn't use this for like a really dark shade. And it's blending it out quite well. I always use really small brushes actually for my eyeshadow. I don't know what your opinion is about that, but I prefer smaller brushes actually. So I'm kind of working that into the crease. I feel like this shade is a little bit darker on the eyelid than it is in the pan. I do like the quality of these brushes, like the way the hairs feel. It feels almost like natural hair, but they are synthetic. So I'm taking a little bit of a smaller brush. This is the N205. And I'm gonna go into that darker shade over here. That's called Dogma. And deepen up the outer corner with this. This brush is really small and precise, but I still feel like I have to get the hang of this brush because it's not really pointy, you see? Kind of, what do you call that? When the bristles go out. I kind of have to get used to that because I usually don't use brushes like this. These are really some of my favorite palettes right now. And I also kind of feel like Nabla became my favorite brand last year. I tried so many of their things, so many products, and I basically love them all. I think they're just such great quality. And they also have some nice sales and they are European, so it's quite easy for me to get them. So I've really been getting into Nabla. Let me know in the comments what your favorite brand is. And also let me know if that kind of changes. Do you kind of stay with the same brand, or do your preferences change a lot? So that is looking quite good. Now for the shimmer, I think I'm gonna go into the Nabla Dreamy 2 palette. There are just so many interesting textures in this palette. So many different kinds of shades. I think I'm just gonna start with this shade called Hidden Place. This is kind of like a really soft multi-chrome type of shadow because it kind of has some olive, some bronze and some smoky purple in there. Here you can maybe see some of that purple and then some of that olive. It's a really interesting shade. So I'm just gonna go in with my finger and then apply that to the eyelid. Don't really want to get fallout with this. This is not a really like chunky glittery shade, but I always like applying shimmers with my fingers. This is such an interesting grungy eyeshadow. I really like this one. Here I can actually really see the shift in that. I don't know if you can really see it. I'm a bit unsure what I want to do with this look today because I've already done so many looks with this palette and I just want to do something different every time. But I think I'm just gonna go into this shade called Libertine. This is a really sparkly shade. It's almost like a pressed glitter, but I don't think it really is. It's just really like a chunky shimmer. It's a really interesting shade. So I'm gonna put that a little bit in like the inner third of my lid. Pressing that down. It's a really bright, warm gold. There's so much texture in it. I like bringing that shimmer a little bit up here. So that's the gold eyeshadow. I really like how this looks actually. It's quite interesting, this combination. So let's see what I want to do for the lower lash line. I think first I'm going to go in with this shade called Deja Vu. It's a little bit of a neutral rosy brown shade. Can you please focus? Hello? It's a little bit of a neutral rosy brown shade over here. And I'm just taking the Nabla N204. It's kind of like this flat brush, but it's also a little bit fluffy. So I'm gonna use that for the lower lash line. Before I got this palette, I actually thought that I wouldn't like this shade because in the pictures it always looked very like light. Very light and kind of washed out and like it wouldn't really do anything. But actually I really enjoy this shade and this tone. Let me see. Now I think I want to go into this shade called New Past. This is kind of like a brick toned reddish color and I want to deepen up the lower lash line with this one. Just focusing this on the outer part here. This one isn't too red when you combine it with other more brown colors and I actually prefer that. I think it has a nice undertone. I think for the last step I want to take this shade and this one is called Oniric. And this is a really sparkly gold shade and I kind of want to put some shimmer on the lower lash line right over here in the inner part. So I'm just gonna take a little bit on this pencil brush and see if it will stick like this, or maybe I should spray it. I think I'm gonna spray it a little bit. So I sprayed my brush. Let's see if I can apply it better now. It's a bit better. It doesn't stick to my lower lash line the absolute best, but it does have some effect. You can kind of see that. Just bring some of that gold to the lower lash line. So I think that's everything for the eyes for now. I'm just gonna clean that up real quickly and then we can go to the cheeks. So I cleaned up the eyeshadow. I also put on some mascara. Now let's go on to the cheeks. For every category I just have one option, so we're just gonna go with that. I have this Nabla Skin Glazing Bronzer. I really love this one. This one is in Ambra. This is such an amazing formula. It's just so natural on the skin. It isn't like glittery, but it is nice and glowy. So let me just apply that. And I really love this color because it's just so buildable. It doesn't get like too dark on my skin. It just looks really healthy. This one is slowly becoming like my favorite bronzer. I used to really be into that Smashbox Kylie Contour palette. And I still am. It's a great palette. But this one is kind of stealing the show. This is just such an easy product to use. And you can also see I've used this a lot. It has worn off so much. So I'm slowly building that up. I think that's looking good. I like how that looks. Now let's get on to the highlight. I always apply highlight before blush because I just like how it kind of melts in together a little bit more. And then your blush also looks a little bit more glowy. So I have this one in the shade Privilege. This is kind of like a champagne peachy highlight. It's a really interesting shade. This is also one of my favorite highlights in my collection right now. I moved away from it a little bit because I felt like I need to give my other highlighters a little bit of attention. I was neglecting them, so I was like, okay, I won't use this for a little bit and then try out some other highlights. But this one, I just really love the effect it gives on skin. It really just melts in. And I also really like this shade. I just think this particular shade works very well with my skin tone. I don't like it anymore when a highlight is like too whitish or too stark. And this one just has a little hint of warmth in it and it's closer to my skin tone. Can you see it there? It's a really nice effect it gives on the skin. My undertone is actually a little bit more cool toned, neutral to cool, but I really like a little bit of a peachy highlight on me. And this one you can really build up. You can make it quite natural, but you can also make it more glowy. And I don't mind blending it down a little bit because then the blush looks more glowy. Then I have this blush. This one is in the shade Independence. This is one of their new ones. This is not as glowy as a highlight, so therefore it works better as a blush. It's just like this really natural looking blush. It just gives this slight sheen to the cheeks. There's no glitter and it's not like too reflective. This one is a little bit more pigmented than the bronzer, I feel like, and it's also quite bright. It has more of a warm undertone than you can kind of see in the pan. I'm so sorry about the bright light behind me, by the way. The sun is shining so bright today. I wasn't expecting it and I was kind of hoping for it to go away, but it's still here. And we're just working with it. I hope you can still see what I'm doing. I think you can. I really enjoy this blush. When I turn my head, you can really see the glow, the sheen there. You can also really build it up so it doesn't have to become too bright pink. So those are the cheeks all done. Now let me just do the brows quickly off camera. Then we will do the lips and that will be the end of this look. So I'll be right back. So those are the brows all done. I always like doing my brows last because when I apply my bronzer and everything, I always mess it up. So that's why I do it at this point. So let's get into the lips. I'm not really sure what I want to do actually. I have some liquid lipsticks from their Dreamy Creamy line. I have this one in the shade Vicious. This one in the shade Eve. This one is a bit of a peachy pink. And this one is in the shade Hedonist. I really love this formula. I really enjoy these liquid lipsticks. Now let me see what I want to do. I think for today maybe I want to go with Hedonist because I don't wear that one a lot. But the red one would be more fun. But I don't know if it would be too much with this eyeshadow. I think I'm gonna go with Hedonist. Let's do that. I think I'm just gonna go in without a lip liner and then see how that goes. So that is the shade Hedonist. It's kind of like this warm toned beigey nude. It's quite a nice shade and I really love this formula. So this is the finished look. This is my full face of Nabla. I really like how this turned out. I really love all these products. This is just such a great brand. I just really love the quality of their products, but also the themes. And their packaging is also just to die for it. They just have such great packaging and I'm a sucker for that. I have to admit, I really enjoy a nice packaging. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like the video if you liked it and don't forget to subscribe. And then I will see you in my next one. Bye bye!